Up next.
Slavery did a big job on black people. And oftentimes the biggest Islamophobes happen to be black.
We're essentially canceling each other.
Right.
Like, yo, mental health, physical health, whatever it is, it's like, yo, you got time now. And I remember always being the person to say,
I don't have enough time.
I don't got time for that.
Yeah.
Lila, let's talk. This is a 3-part series. This is part 3. We are all just gonna have a real casual conversation about what's going on right now, the importance of people of color supporting other people of color. We're also gonna talk about the importance of taking care of ourselves, not just physically, but also mentally, and like how we can live a more balanced lifestyle by living a more holistic lifestyle. Lila, let's talk.
Talk about the culture, my favorite. Something that I love about this moment that we're in.
It's just beautiful and black. You know, I really am just, you know, that's what I said. I mean, you know, out of this, I think can be, you know, have come a lot of positive things, and I feel like, you know, we can, you know, we have a lot of potential that could come with respect to the African American community. As you mentioned, in the 90s, it's funny. I was like looking at this documentary on Netflix on hip hop and fashion, and I was talking about Carl.
Yep.
Carl was talking about like
fresh dress.
He was talking about like how. You know, I guess he was like trying to get Tupac to wear his clothes, and Tupac was barely paying attention, and he did a whole pitch for 20 minutes or so, and in the end, Carl was like, "So can you wear my stuff?" And Tupac was like,
Yo, you black?
You black? You black?
Enough said.
I was gonna wear this.
I was gonna wear this
period.
black. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that, you know, going to a culture of just supporting each other and whatever, you know, supporting each other is got to be like a standard.
And the only caveat to that is ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership is so important, and ownership doesn't really fit into the political conversation, but
Well, kind of.
Shit.
Because that's how you get the wealth, right? In order to support different people, different, you know, PACs and things like that. So.
But like ownership is so important. Like Carl owning his, being in that position to say, yo, I want Tupac to wear my, and then having that relationship.
But no, I mean, if you look at like, you know, small business, you know, small businesses and entrepreneurs, and how many jobs created out of small businesses, just help access to capital, access to means to get, you know, small business alone, like all of that sort of stuff sort of does play into politics.
Yeah.
So I think, you know,
And that's another thing. You need to, you know, go be proactive, go to the SBA, look at these 8A programs, all these different programs that are supporting not just, you know, people of color, but even certain demographic areas. You know, you might be zoned a certain way. So
and be proactive. Right. Be proactive about it, because
don't just be like, okay, I gotta wait for something to just like fall from the sky.
Yeah. Again, people often ask, well, what has the CBC done? They need to do a better job often of like talking about the things that they've actually done, because they're so
control the narrative.
Because they're so busy, you know, oftentimes
That's the ownership part too,
I've seen it,
controlling
like
that
so
narrative.
busy doing the work
Yeah.
that they're like, we ain't got time for the accolades. We're so busy doing the work.
That's why my job exists.
You know, and so I see that because
Get you somebody that's going to tell the story and amplify your story.
there's so many things I personally worked on, and they were doing some of these mergers between the cable companies. One of the conditions was they pressed Comcast and say, look, you have to have minority representation on your channels. Hell, I remember helping writing the letter, and
Which led to a whole other headache.
but led to Revolt TV,
Right.
you know. And so I say that because it's just like, you know, in addition to entrepreneurship and outright ownership, you know, within the existing structure of, you know, our economic structure, you know, having even equity in some of these institutions is important, which, as we talk about, you know, Black Lives Matter, I really do hope that, you know, while it's great to have the conversation, I really do hope that a lot of these companies that are advocating and saying, yeah, we're here for you guys, that they're actually like really putting, putting the money and the resources behind it. Absolutely. To say, look, you know, that's cool that, you know, you giving of some millions of dollars to this, to the NAACP and other organizations, but, you know, what about black people being on your board? What about senior leadership within your company?
That's right.
If you really mean that,
We
you know,
have to
if
keep
you
them
really about
accountable,
that.
though. We have to keep them
And one of the things
Yeah.
that the CBC has done, and particularly when I was there, one of the things that I remember, especially Congressman Richmond, he was like very adamant about. He was like, what does your board look like? What is your real diversity look like? What are your diversity numbers look like?
I'll tell you this. So, you know, again, working with Angela, she went from being the ED of the CBC, right? Then started a firm. So it's a black-owned consulting firm. I remember, like, if you walked into certain members' offices and didn't have a black person on your consult, they're looking at you like, for real? And you gonna walk?
Benny Thompson. Yeah.
Look, I didn't want to shout out my name, but I'm like, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Richmond would do it, like because they're like, listen, how would I? Did you really? And it's just about the presentation. Did you do the research before you walked in here, or you thought you could walk in here with with nobody that looks like me and talk to me for your advantage?
If I disagree with you, it doesn't take away my commitment, my desire, my soul, my spirit to want to better my community in my way.
That's right.
In my way,
Right.
And so I say that because, as I mentioned that, there's this notion amongst certain sects of, the Democratic Party that if you're a corporate entity or you work for a corporate entity, that you are a sellout, you're not necessarily here for the people. But here's the thing.
We're canceling each other.
We're essentially canceling each other.
Right.
Because I say this because here's the thing. What is the point of having upper mobility if we can't literally move up? Now again, yes, in absence of owning our own businesses and everything, a lot of us do work in corporate America, and not everybody that's black that works in corporate America is a sellout that's working towards the demise of other people.
We gotta stop owning struggle.
We have to stop owning struggle.
That's what it is.
We have to stop owning struggle. I agree.
In the pathway to owning our own, we have to stop owning struggle, because what happens is we don't understand leverage. And so people that get into corporate America, we look at them like they sellouts instead of looking at them like they're allies in enemy camps. Because struggle is such a part of it's so ingrained in us that it's like, wait a minute, how could he be with me and he's not struggling like
So I have
me?
a question for you.
And he probably came from the same struggle, off his period,
right?
From the same struggle.
Like, he got where he was and he's now a tool for you.
The NAACP started, in the Civil Rights era, or even, a little bit prior to that, and it was predominantly for Black people in America, people who had generationally been here for a long time. And so now we have a lot of different immigrants, and so I'm just curious, and please, let me know, how does the NAACP create that unity of that cohesive Blackness, not just Americans, but all Americans happen to be residing in the U.S. And because you talk about struggles, and I know competitiveness of which struggle's worse, and we can only own the narrative of the Black struggle. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that part.
So one, the NAACP led the bigg't delegation in the year of the return back to Ghana. Worked with the Ghanaian government to really spearhead that. And what I thought was dope about it was the folks that went on the trip did African ancestry and got their results in Ghana. So, literally, we just filmed greetings and an award ceremony for the Africa American Institute, which is their sole purpose is bridging that gap. W.E.B. Du Bois, buried in Africa. You know what I mean? And so there's a restoration project happening over in Africa. And it's really just about understanding that wherever you are in the diaspora, we are one.
Exactly.
And figuring, look, and again,
because together, collectively, we, just like PACs, just like buying power, we collectively can do so much together, right?
Look, I'll segue briefly, but it's not really a deep segue.
Yeah.
The National Geographic put out an issue, and I can't remember how old it is, but it said Africa and Egypt, as if Egypt wasn't in Africa.
Right.
And the purpose of that was, when you look at where they tell us a lot of the tidbits that they do tell us, a lot of the knowledge, and especially when you look at Greeks, Romans, a lot of their knowledge came from Egypt and Africa,
Absolutely.
right? And so the reason that they separated is because they don't want you to understand that the knowledge that they let slip about how they got this stuff from this place, okay, it's not connected to the rest of the country.
Because Africa, the stereotype is they're ignorant, they're behind,
they're poor, there's flies all over them. It's that's not real.
Exactly.
And the one thing that I appreciate about working with the NAACP is understanding the fact that we all have different paths. We all have different issues. But the scariest thing in the world is a united people. Like, there's nothing scarier. Like, and again, I'm a content creator, so I speak from that. And RIP to Chadwick Boseman. Black Panther, right? You think about that character. If you Google it, Black Panther is the wealthiest superhero character ever created. And shouts out to Stan Lee and all those cats at Marvel who were like hip to understand that. Why? Where does he get the wealth from? The natural resources. So when you look at like the Wolverines and the Captain Americas and all of these cats that got all this gear and this that came from Africa. You know what I mean? Like if you dig deep into it all came from Africa. Black Panther, T'Challa, based on Mansa Musa. You know what I mean? So it's like when you the stories are being told, they're just not being told in a lens that we understand, because if we got it, if something clicked and we were like, wait a minute, you from Africa, you from Africa. Really, we all from Africa, right? Like if one, how could you be racist understanding where you got what you choose to hold over my head from? And so I think that like one of the biggest things that NAACP understands, like, yo, this whole divisive thing that's happening, and I mean, and let's be clear, it's not just happening with Americans or African Americans and people on the continent. It's happening with people on the continent against people on the continent. It's happening everywhere.
It happens in Latin America. Representing Africa, like it happens everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh my God, one of the biggest Republican populations in Florida is Cuban. You know what I mean? Like, so I say all that to say, it's like, yo, we understand that the issues that we're being faced with will never be solved if we are not united. We have to fight from a united place. And whether you're on the continent or whether you're here, they didn't take your roots from you for no reason. Once you get connected, right? Once you get connected back to the roots, then it's like, oh, we all in this.
Hi, Congressman Andre Carson, how are you?
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
You have such a great way of connecting with people. I mean, I have to say, you know, for my Lila Talks audience members, I've known Andre for quite amount of time. And to be honest, he's really changed my perception of politicians, you know, because he's such a down-to-earth person. He really cares about his constituents and just has a listening heart. So just personally, I just want to say thank you for being a great example for people who aren't familiar with the folks up in the hill.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, no problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the only black male Muslim member in Congress. Is that correct?
Yes, Keith Ellison was the first. He's now the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. And I'm the only male, but we have Ilhan and Sister Rashida.
Has it been a challenge for you? Have you been targeted in any particular way, even within, you know, the public opinion? How has it been being a minority within the minority, you know, and what could you tell other people who might be struggling with being different, even within their own community, and how they can kind of handle and push forward if there are any challenges? I do. I talk about that in my Being Black in America. Yeah.
It has its challenges. It had its challenges. You have people who are questioning your patriotism, questioning, you know, whether or not you're a sleeper cell, questioning your blackness. You know, slavery did a big job on black people, and oftentimes the biggest Islamophobes happen to be black, and it's ironic because 30, 40, maybe 50% of the slaves that were brought here were Muslim. And so the slave master beat Islam out of us to where a lot of black people are Islamophobes. But Islam has this complicated history too with slavery and the Arab slave trade. But I think that, you know, being different is a part of what could make somebody excel and do great things. Because if you're an outlier, I think a lot of times you feel like your resources are cut off. So being an outlier can cause you to be creative. It can spark your ingenuity. It can spark your brilliance. And regardless of what people may think about you in the moment, if you're on purpose and doing what you feel like God has directed you to do, then they'll look back and try to level up it against you.
Yeah. I like how you did that. They try to, say, ha ha, look at him. And then you flip and say, actually, this is a part of me. And I'm actually going to use this to relate and connect with people.
That's right.
So one of the things that Jean and Ben, we talked about, the other day was about the importance of Black people supporting other Black people. We need to support other Black businesses and other, people running for office. So what are your thoughts about, and why do you think that we're not there at that point where we're kind of supporting each other, maybe financially, economically, even like mentally, how we can be more supportive as like a community?
I think it's evolving. I think we're starting to see that we can't rely on entities or people outside of our community, because the minute we do something that goes against what they think is appropriate for our culture, and they shouldn't be trying to dictate what's appropriate for our culture, then they cut off our resources. If we're able to be self-sustaining, then I think you'll see us thrive the way we did in the 50s and 60s.
This is a holistic lifestyle channel as well. So we try to talk about a little bit of everything. And so if you wouldn't mind, because your demeanor is always kind of the same. You're so, regardless of the stressful things of voting and hearings, you seem to be very pleasant. You're very, nice, and you just seem to be very calm. That's just my perception of you. So how do you maintain that? How do you maintain that kind of mindset and just exuding that kind of positive energy? Like, what are some of the things that you do to kind of help you with that, if you do anything?
It's not that I don't get upset, because I do.
Okay.
I don't tolerate disrespect. I mean, certain things agitate me, but I try to stay focused on the blessings that I have in life and the things that I've been through in my life. And regardless of the losses and suffering and pain, I'm still blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a part of it's just my personality.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Trying to be like you.
So I'm curious, you guys are always motivated, always super energetic. What are some of the outlets and things that you do to kind of give yourself that balance, with all the things that are going on?
So for me, I'm a music fanatic, like a DJ. I'm just so music heavy, and what, again, as we talk about the 90s, what's so important about this moment is so much music coming out that is this moment specific, right? But one of my favorites, you got Toby Nwigwe.
I love him.
He's
so creative.
Been hip to him for a minute,
Okay.
and shouts out to my boy Dre who put me onto him. But been hip to him for a minute, but in this moment, he's blossoming. The tragedies, like that, you know what I mean? That joint took off.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, see, now we're in a pocket where the gems are being unearthed because we digging for them. And you, shouts out to Big Sean whose project just dropped, but he's got a record on there where he's talking about God's got me doing better than my demons. And that just resonated with me, because I'm like, yo, we all got issues, but I'm doing better than the issues that I have. So music for me is one, and we talked offline about biking. I've been biking, I've gained some weight.
You look good.
I'm sitting down. I'm also wearing a tracksuit that's.
You might be busting his ass soon, next time he's gonna have his shirt out.
I tell you that, if I get, as soon as I see one ab, it's shirt off showing. It's shirt off showing for at least a month. But so getting into biking, just being able to, again, for the music, throwing on my headphones, getting out there, because I'll be honest, moment of vulnerability, I don't think I've ever dealt with, or I never recognized that I was dealing with anxiety until quarantine. Quarantine started, and I was like, shaking and shit. I was figuring out, how am I going to maneuver around this? Talking to people more, because I'm either really talkative, or I could just be I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm shut down. I'm zoned out. But so being more cognizant about the people that are around me, yo, how you feeling? You good?
Checking out.
Everything going on. But yeah, man. I mean, in regards to my peace and my it's really the music for me.
That's a great outlet, I think, and you hear words, it kind of inspires you to be like, oh, I feel that. Even if you didn't think of that song or wrote that song, those words kind of spoke to you. So what about you, Ben? What do you do?
Nah, like, so, this past few months, like, funny, we came earlier, I just finished running.
Yeah.
So, like, running is my happy place. Like,
Yeah.
literally just, I can't run 12, 13 miles like I used to, but, running a few miles, just really just to clear my head with some good music. Shout out to D Nice, because God knows he, like, was a hero.
Nice,
Yeah.
get up, baby.
He's been a hero.
Yeah.
I
I got a D Nice story, I'll tell you that.
that's my brother. But no, I mean, like, just, listen to a lot of music, but I said just running and just trying to, I've been in my head a lot, to be honest with you. Actually, true story, I actually got a new therapist. Because it's just
Shout out to Black Man
absolutely.
therapy,
No,
mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Just like
not
how
at
you
all.
work out
No,
and
not
you
at
take care
all.
of yourself, you
No,
also
not
have
at all.
to do that for
No,
your
because
mind.
it's
I
just
tell
like,
my friends that when they start talking to me too much, I'd be like, bro, I'm not a therapist.
no, because
Yeah.
literally it's just like, it got to a point where it was like, okay, I gotta deal with my mental health. So it was like, and just in terms of like, the isolation and everything else that sort of comes with it. I mean, it's a real thing, and I mean, both my parents have passed away, years ago. And so it's just like, and I have my brother and my sister, but it's just like, not being able to physically, see people has been a real thing. And so it's just like you were saying, like, touching people. Hey, Lila, how you been? What's good? Just, I mean, it becomes a real thing, but it's like when you go home at night and you're alone, it's just like, damn. So I say that because it's just like doing things to just really work on my own mental health. So I've been reading a whole lot. Like, I don't know if you saw this. I got a stack of books that I read. It's like funny because I read like a chapter on each one every other night. So I'm like, I'm like a gourmet chef. I'm a radical. Like I'm like,
I need to come back and do a little chef
I've been cooking it up.
I've been reading
Yeah, I
everything.
see.
I'm willing to go toe to toe. I've been cooking it up lately.
Nah,
We have competition.
I've been chefing it up lately.
Because this was funny. It was like, Lila been a Soul Food Sunday. That's what I do. You got to
my
invite
God,
me.
yes.
So no, but the check was really
The
funny.
fact that I haven't got an invite yet.
I know. It's been years since I did it. My bad. Old school. We go back.
It's big, bro.
I don't know. We go back like 20 years.
We go back 10. When did Soul Food Sunday?
Nah, I got you.
Yeah, it's good.
But no, it's like funny because I realized that when COVID started, I thought I was a good cook. I realized I had about 6 dishes when it started, so I had to like expand. I had to expand on my cooking. So I've been cooking a lot and just like I said, just really working on my mental health and just reading, and just kind of doing a lot of things that I hadn't been able to do.
Focusing on my dreams. Like, we all have very demanding careers where you're either working for the greater good or you're working for somebody who's working for the greater good. But it's like, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What is something that I can do forever and be happy and successful? Because I ain't one of them brothers that's like, oh, I'll just take happiness. No.
You need to
I like
Yeah.
to play. I like to play with money. So
And that's growth, though, right? Because when you
yeah.
get younger, you want to get the money, and then later, when you
Yeah.
get to that point, you're like, wait, I'm not happy.
Right,
Like,
right.
Because
I
it's
need
the
something
thing,
that's going to fulfill me.
But
Yeah.
this moment is affording me that opportunity to really be like, okay, wait, I can pivot this way. And
Yeah.
Because if you don't have all of this time to yourself to just be like, if you haven't come out of this with some sort of, if you don't come out of this with some sort of
Better.
if you don't come out of this better with a better sense of self, a direction, a new hobby or something,
You wasted
you
something.
really missed an opportunity, as opposed to just focusing on, oh my God, everybody got COVID, everybody not, and honestly, that's where I was focused on. I was like, oh my God, like this is, it's the end, and I realized like, no, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
So you know Greg Jackson too.
Yes.
So that's one of my boys, and he said something to me because we biked together, and he said something to me that he probably didn't mean to be profound, but it was like, I was like, damn, I had to sit with that for a second. He was like, and he was just talking about in regards to working out. He was like, you're going to see who's really about it when we get out of quarantine, because there are some people that are going to take this moment to get better, and there are some people who are going to blame this moment because they got worse.
Wow.
And so he was talking about, people get fat versus people working out and get, but like I sat with that for a second and I was
That's
like,
powerful. That's, yeah.
it's like, mental health, physical health, whatever it is, it's like yeah, you got time now. And I remember always being the person to say,
I don't have enough time.
I don't got time for that.
Yeah.
Like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm
Yeah.
flying, oh, I'm on a flight. I don't
Yeah.
have time for that.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
You have nothing but time.
Yeah.
I got time.
Okay, and so what I like to do, and when I wrap up with all my segments, is be very action oriented. So if you could say maybe one or two things as far as a call to action for folks. A lot of folks have talked about, voter registration and voting, but if there's anything like that, or even beyond that, maybe something small. I think a lot of people are feeling motivated based on Black Lives Matter and, the political climate, but they don't have any guidance on what to do next. So what is your suggestion? Maybe like 2 or 3 things that you could say, hey guys, go out there and do X. Like what would you suggest?
I think people should identify a campaign that shares their values. You're not going to agree with everything. Become a part of it. Phone bank, go door to door. If you're concerned about a policy issue, write white papers for that counselor, that state rep, that delegate, that member of Congress. But more importantly, offer your opinion, offer your expertise, offer your critiques.
Yeah.
That's a part of being engaged. But more importantly, I think you should vote. If you don't know how to vote, contact your county clerk's office.
Yeah.
Or your local political party, Republican or Democratic. Hopefully it's Democratic.
Make sure you're registered to vote, please. And don't stop at being registered. Actually, go and vote. Make voting a family thing, a community thing. It's not about you just voting, because your community is voting for your community. So make sure that that's the thing. Make sure you fill out that census, because that's just as important in regards to uplifting and creating equitable circumstances for your community. And yeah, my man just said names and titles, so
And IGs if you
I'm
like.
Gene
whatever.
Brown, social media strategist for the NAACP. Ruby Gene on Instagram. Twitter is I think Ruby_Gene. I gotta get better on Twitter. But yeah, man, appreciate you for having me and partner. So the interesting thing is again, we're real family, it's real love, it ain't and it's
We're gonna drink after this.
as a fact, we were drinking during this, but y'all don't need to know that. You can edit that out. But it also makes for, and I don't even know if you did this on purpose, but it just makes for such a better conversation when it's yo, that's love.
Family.
It's a bitch.
It's family.
That's good.
It's
Wait a minute, you guys, we all know each other.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, just make sure you're doing your part to be counted, and sign up for the NAACP, man. Join the NAACP. Volunteer with the NAACP.
Join your local chapter, right?
Join your local. And so the thing is, when you go to join the NAACP, you have options, right? You can join just nationally if you don't want to, be a part, or somebody like me who travels a lot, or you live in multiple spaces. But you can find your local chapter and all of that, and make sure that you join and really learn about the work, right? Because as we are doing a better job telling the story, your engagement with us is important. So definitely make sure that you join the NAACP, and yeah, man. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say.
No, that's great.
Again, Benjamin Branch, my
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Yes, my all my handles are my line name, born in 1911.
I feel like I should say. So my real name is Eugene. I said Gene.
I call him Gene.
He said Benjamin. My bad.
But no, I mean, as I said, I left CBC PAC a couple years ago. I'm still actively involved in, multiple activities with regards to the Congressional Black Caucus. For the CBC PAC, they have a lot of really great candidates throughout the country that they are supporting. So they're looking to get their numbers up with respect to members of the CBC. Just continue to be involved. I mean, continue to give money where it's possible to not only federal candidates but to local candidates, and just make sure you do the homework to look and see who supports your issues.
All right, thank you so much, Congressman Andre Carson. I appreciate that.
So proud of you.
Thank you. You're such a great friend. Hey, you see that hat right there? That's a gift for me when I went to Nigeria. I really appreciate your time.
Lila talks.
All right, yes.